I believe in the dream space a lot, and in my talk, I'm going to jump back and forth and drive you crazy. When I remember something, I got to say it or I'll forget it. I'm elder, forgive me. And also, some of the things I may say are going to be quite blunt, and so it's not intended to hurt anybody. And if you take offense, I apologize. That's not the intention. I'm just trying to share how I learned things and how things are coming to me. So, like I said, I believe in dream space a lot. And so the question that I had for myself when I was growing up was, how do I help my people? How do I talk about what's happening to us? And how do I visually show it? Because words in English is not our forte. That's not the beginning. And so the dream was to use plastic Ziploc bags and rocks. So I'll get to that in a little bit. And then my background is educational-wise, it's in the sciences, but I didn't get my degrees in that because I married early and I came back home, and what was offered during that time was education. So I went into education, but in my science field, and all of you probably have heard about the Mobius strip, right? So I'm going to use that as the beginning. Jessica, I don't know. Where's Jessica? My assistant, Jessica. So what I have is a Mobius strip as a visual of our journey in life. It has two sides. And for young kids, when we do this, can you hear me, or does she need the mic over here? I'm okay. No. Can you hold the mic for me? Sure. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use the Mobius strip as an example. And for children, it's like the white lines on a highway. So you walk your talk and you're on your journey. And it has two sides. So one side is my native way of thinking, which is quite cyclical. And in one way, it's a linear way of thinking, which is the beginning, middle, and end, and your outcomes right here. Or your journey is linear, or is it cyclical? And so these are some of the concepts that I was dealing with. And then also, what we know in our native way is that our physical body are vessels to help you journey in your soulfulness with just the energy inside of you. So this represents the inner self and the outer self, the inner landscape of us and who we are, and the outer landscape of who we are. And then also in the energy realms of reality, we have male and female energy in us, and it travels at the same time. So one side is the masculine male way of thinking, and then also on the other side is the feminine woman's way of wisdom, knowing, and how do the two get together, and how do we respect each other in these times. And then there's plenty more what the two sides are representing, but I'm trying to do it quickly. And then there's a twist. So what's this twist? It's the twist of faith that got me through, or is it the twist of fate that got me through? And so I'm going to put that twist, but before I do, I'm going to put the heart on one side so we know the inner and the outer. And I'm going to connect the lines. So that twist is there, and then I'm going to connect it. Okay, and then I'm going to start my journey. So our journey in life as Native people, and my healing elements are here. We use either the tobacco or our cornmeal, and we do our offerings, our asking. And when colonizers first came, they thought we were, wow, they're worshiping the sun. Oh, they're being, that word paganistic. And that word came from Europe. So, and I have salt, healing salts here too. So we would put our breath on it. And the breath represents that you're speaking truth from inside out. So it's not like blowing, but it's, you know, and just like I did a while ago. So that offering is before the sun, and we're saying, Creator, I'm going to start my journey. I'm going to start my journey in life, and I know it's going to be rough, crazy, and sometimes I get mad. Whoa, I go back and I cuss and I piss and then I go forward. Oh, it's going good. The sun's just right there. Then all of a sudden you're at your office door and where's that report? You didn't do this thing. Oh, okay. So, I can do it. I can do it. I can be nice. I can be kind. So I've got to do it fast. But there's always bumps and lumps on the road, and somebody says you something, and then it just pisses me off. I don't know if I can do it. Oh, it's exhausting. Creator, why did you do this to me? And okay, and then the sun is about here, and it's starting to turn a different color. It's turning that yellowish. And so, okay, I know I can do it. I've got a little bit more time. It's a journey. It's a 24/7 thing. I got to do it. And again, you've got a lot of setbacks. And what happened as I was doing my journey? Both sides. Did you hear me having that duality talk? It's like, oh, that's my feminine side of things. Oh, no, it's the male side of things. Oh, no, it's a native thing. Oh, no, it's a male. It's simultaneously on that journey and path, and you do both worlds. And so we don't get, what did I say? I hate to use terminology, but, schizophrenic or saying that, oh, she's crazy. She can't do this. But it still makes that journey. And then, so that journey is simultaneously. But, being in a Euro-American educational system, it's, nah. Or the kids say, Mom doesn't know everything. I can prove. I can journey. I can cut. I can dichotomize. Well, I can split this whole thing and understand it. So I'll journey fast and cut myself. Struggle with this duality, struggle with this dichotomization. Wow. So I cut it in half. So did I make one huge circle or two? Magic, one. But it has that twist. So that twist, again, being in the United States and money talks, this is the vacuum cleaner strip. Oh, so when you move one, it moves the other. So energy is moved from one into the other, but it's still whole. And then there's questions we've been asking all this time that we've been here. And it says, oh, but do I have to get my degree in neurology now? Do I have to get my degree in this? Oh, I got to. So I don't know everything. So again, you go again, one more time. So we go back and forth in saying, well, I knew it, but now it's been split. I knew it, but now I got to go. And the more you know, the less you know. The more you find out you don't know everything. So again, cut, try to separate, try to dichotomize, try to deal with it in a fashion that is workable, doable, on paper. Whoa, that's a long journey. I should have used a smaller circle. It's taking more time to cut and separate. Maybe it's because of old age, huh? We gotta get going. Whoa, is it gonna end? No, you got a journey. You gotta do this. Ta-da! Okay, one huge circle or two. See, it's still whole. Twist is still there. So, you want to help me? Just hold your hands like this way. One loop. Hold it, and then I'll hold the other one. So, it's two. So this is where the two-world harmony butterfly model developed in my brain about, as our native way of thinking, we also have the Euro-American way of knowingness and knowledge, and both are needed. the female energy is needed, the male. We need to function together like a butterfly in order to have mobility. And here it looks like an entanglement, like we're struggling. We learn from chaos. And so now what does this represent is that if you pull the circle apart, just, no, hold it. And I need another person up here. Mm-hmm. This one. Hold it separate. Okay, so then it made a cross. So we thought that the Euro-Americans, the religious institutions that were coming, understood our native concepts and ideas because the center is right here, and the directional flow of the 4 directions, the earth center, the weaving, the interweavings. This is the infinity model, and it's a universal law. And so laws of nature supersede anything that came over in the doctrine of discoveries and all the other ways of annihilating people. But this is what holds true in basket weaving and in the caves that go 25,000 years or 30,000 years. This is the symbol you'll find. And so it's a universal law, and those things need to be respected when we talk about the functionings of our bodies in relationship to Mother Earth. Thank you. And so with that in mind, and having the respectfulness of having the 2 worlds, how do we tell our young people that you don't X out one over the other? You have to work with both in the fluidity and in the breath and journey of life. So fluidity is very important. Mobility is very important. Being inside, outside people is important. You have to put all those considerations this afternoon in our working sessions, because one is not going to top over the other. That knowingness, we know a lot on one end, and there's a little bit that we know, but you have to slide in and out. And if you get stuck in one, you can always find that safe space in another, but come back into your community and go back out if it's stuck. Or if you're out here and this is getting rough, go to the woods, go to the mountains, go to Mother Earth. But you find yourself in that communal way, and then you find yourself in that spiritual way, you're inside, outside, and then come back in. It's a 24/7 task. So then from here, I'd like to use the rocks, the trauma. How do we deal with this concept of colonization that, so in a nutshell, the Wellbriety Society did an excellent job of putting together a snippet of the historical trauma in 3 minutes. So, and what we talked about, you'll get a sense of that. And then with the trauma rocks and the chairs that I'm going to do, that's generational trauma and how the distinction of one goes into the other. So hold your questions. I know, jot them down. I know I can just hear it already as I pull that jaw up. So we'll start the video.
We don't know if there's going to be sound for the video, so we'll.
There's sound,
Oh, there's
maybe
sound.
not image because I need a connector here. Yeah, sure. Let me see something. Yeah.
So while we're working on technology, we're going to put the chairs up. Okay, due to technical difficulties,
Let me see if I can.
we're going to go visual first. Okay. So I'll go ahead and start with the rocks. So this is like a train where there is no speaking, no talking. You're not passing on that what the trauma that had happened in the generations before, but it's in our cellular memory because it is locked in there. It's there, and so that 3-minute video is just excellent in getting this out. But we'll try the chairs first. Anybody want to sit in the chairs? You're very brave. You're very powerful. And yeah. there's someone. So usually when we do, that's Mike, okay, so the trauma that happened here with that, that Lisa talked about with the boarding schools, with the genocide, and in the United States, I think under 20, how many, I forget, the numbers of presidents that actually practice genocidal practices, and it shows them all. And then what that was meant to do was to free the land so that people could come into it. And so 99% of our indigenous population was genocided. So 1% survived, and so within that 1%, all this knowledge of what was happening got passed down silently inside. And it happened on both the oppressor side and on the oppressed side. Both sides have different silencing techniques in order for it to continue and continue and continue. And so this first generation, for me, since I'm sitting probably way over that way, is my great-grandmother. And my great-grandmother would dress the way I am dressed now, and she crossed over at 95 years of age, and she never gave up her native dress. And she could speak 3 languages because she had the Spanish, were the colonizers in our area, English, and then she had Tewa. So then this generation, first generation, and I apologize to rock people, I use rocks as symbols of, almost looks like ulcers and gallstones inside that develop because you're holding everything in. And the Ziploc is that it's locked inside here. So my grandmother had my great-grandmother had very hard circumstances that she wouldn't talk about. You're told, don't air your dirty laundry. We don't know if they're gonna kill all of us if you start talking about it again, so be quiet. And so her bags are sealed. And then the men are usually the ones that the Euro-Americans, the male patriarchy recognizes. The men would stand along the side and they would have their hand on the shoulder. But they were, if you could take it both ways, is that they were standing, looking forward, back, protecting, and seeing what's there. But then the patriarchal system, puts a hand down and shh, be quiet, don't rock the boat. I'm guarding, I'm protecting, they're talking to me. And so the women start to get silenced physically and verbally, not being able to say. And then so this generation not wanting to harm the next generation by carrying on this story and passing it. And I take that back, it's not stories, it's life narratives, your life narratives. And so tap her on the shoulder and just give her the bag. So they're not speaking. And so the 3 rocks here, and this is exponential harm. We know linear cumulative harm, but this is demonstrating the way the cancer cells work. When that harm is in that one cell, exponentially all those that are around it start to multiply and carry that. So that's why there's such a rapid passage. But 3 is a manageable number, so I'll use 3. So second generation, put your bag in that first bag inside. Inside there. So that bag is sealed, pushed in. So second generation would be my grandmother. And again, she still had her dress, but then she started to wear more cotton dresses. She never went to pants, cotton dresses, and she kept her shoes. But they were starting to have more, we live right next to Los Alamos National Laboratory. So my great-grandmother knew all the ways traditionally, but she also saw Los Alamos coming in. So she had that technology. And then so my grandparents worked up at the lab, and so the men had to give up their traditional wear in order to be accepted up there. And so their bag then becomes, second generation is 3 times 3 is 9, sealed, covered, not saying anything, don't rock the boat. We have to take our traditions underground because we don't know if they're going to accept it. And then also that placing the protector in saying that we were pagans, that we were needed to be saved, and so the Christianity came in and they flopped the church right in the middle of our plaza to show dominance and power. And so in order for us to practice our spirituality, our native way of being accountable to Mother Earth, we would dance on the feast days of the saint that they assigned to our pueblo. And we would do it seasonally. It was an animal dance for the winter. We did it on the feast day of one of their patron saints and stuff. So we still did it in parallel. But my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my grandmother still were strong Catholics. They went and did both. Although my great-grandmother was in the healing clan, she believed wholeheartedly in that, but then she also maintained that sanity of being able to hold her spiritualness on the surface as well as on both sides. So she didn't see any contradiction in Creator being there in both ways. And so tap her on her shoulder, pass it down. And you'll notice that as they're passing the rocks down, this generation, and put your bag inside theirs. So that harm is rapidly growing, and all these generations that are here are visible today. So in my lifetime, all 7 generations are present. It's not like, oh, but that's way back there. Our 7th generation is way down there. We're alive. We have all this lineage within us. And so 3rd generation, again, what happened to her? So this is representing personal trauma of what's happening to her and her lifetime here, but then also it's communal trauma. I mean, it's generational trauma because those bags are still being carried out. Even though you're not talking about your genetics, your memory, your foods are carrying that on. Oh, I forgot So as the rocks are being passed, the seeds of hope are also being passed. And the children are sitting down on the front, on the floor. So the for the generations here, they get the seeds of hope, meaning that you are what you eat. And seeds hold that memory of that wellness. So now is a time when we really need to honor the memory of all our healing plants, our healing, the animals, the seeds, because the seeds in us is what is the hope for our future. And so this generation of kids are still eating what we grow, do with prayer and with goodness and in thought, so they pass it to the next generation. So this generation also feels and sees that hope. They have support. They're being fed. Their souls are also still being fed. And then, so the next generation. So we're here. And so this generation, let me say my mom, right? So this generation would be my mother, and my mother is starting to feel the weight, 3 times 3 times 3, 27. And now she's got heavier load because now she's like looking back, they're not saying anything to me, something's wrong with me. Why are we doing this type of work? Why do I feel angry? What's wrong with me? And my mom had that lip clip palate. Is that what you're cleft palate? And so it was starting being near that Los Alamos National Laboratory, creating the bomb in her generation. That shame. So in here is being put guilt, anger, and shame. It's getting stuffed in here. So she's starting to medicate. So that generation really depended on alcohol to make them happy or to forget or to feel good about themselves. And so this generation passes it down. And nothing is still being said of describing what's in there, because they feel that by not speaking about it, that it's not going to affect the others. And so the seeds of hope, the children are still watching, and they're saying, well, why is my mama acting that way? Why is my grandma not talking to me? Why can't we talk to that uncle? And why they're not saying anything to me? They're just going, shh, be quiet. And then so you might have 4 siblings sitting here, but each one has a different memory. Each one remembers slightly different. And from this generation, the children are starting to lose memory. They don't remember the story. They don't remember, well, did they really take us to that feast day? Were we really happy? I don't remember having a birthday party. Because they were in that panic zone, that flight, fight, or, like, well, I get that smell. I can smell it. My dad's going to come home drunk. We got to get ready. I got to take care of my sisters. So all these things are going in through their head, but they're not being told anything. And again, we're still having the ability to have these seeds of hope for them. And there's relatives. There's extended relatives that are not being acknowledged. They're starting to have that isolation. And so this generation, which is me, tap her. This generation is, my kids are looking at me, and then they're saying, oh, I hate you, Mom. I hate you. You weren't there. Dad was the one that was there. And then they want to understand that if I'm going to survive with my kids, I'm going to have to get my education, I'm going to have to be gone, I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have to do that, and I'm going to have to put them in, maybe my aunt can take care of them while I go here, and I'm just trying to, it's like, so all of them have different memories of what's happening. But you're not saying anything to them because you're saying, oh, no, I don't want to tell them, I don't want to burden them with my problems. And so it just gets passed on, so tap her. But again, kids have the seeds of hope. They've got that resiliency. They have that joy. They want to be there. And so this generation. But what is happening along this way is that it's soul wounding. When we talk about energy, the energy of love, that is being deliberately taken out of people that are oppressed, because that energy of love is converted to the energy of violence. So the colonizers, in order to, and then I say language correction, they say colonization, I say colonization. Thinking from the colon of man, the science, how they make you memorize this. So it's like, that is, so we have to understand, as the people that are not being oppressed, but the people that are in the culture that is oppressing, they are also groomed. They're lacking this memory story. They're lacking the narratives. They're being told just what they need to be told, so they're safe. And so they say, oh, that's not me. I'm not going to worry about that. No, it's not happening. I'm not living over there. It's their own fault. They're doing that to themselves. And so they named it generational trauma. But this act of fear, this act of silencing, this act of perpetrating what is internally being felt is not the doing of the people that are in the generations. It is generational trauma of the guilt, anger, shame, used as tools of the fear in the culture of violence to keep you in control, keep you in that moment. So this workshops is about learning how to talk to the people in hearing their life narratives, and how those stories are going to impact how the people that have been silenced in that coming across to say, I have this ability, I have been gifted by being a writer or having the knowledge, so let's get what it is that's going to keep you safe, sane, sober, conscious, proud, happy, and we're going to do it together. But again, we're not at that stage yet. People are still just learning, still just hearing about this. And so it's still coming. And we're here, 5th generation. So now the rocks, put all those ones inside your bag. Seal it. You're still a hushed stage. This is where my generation at home, the men that are standing here are saying, oh, you ladies, you're just creating a ruckus. Be quiet, you know. They're giving us money. They're giving our education. They're giving our health. They're giving our, you know, and it's like, so it's stuffed. And as this bag is sealed, it's getting heavy and it's getting puffy. You can feel that here. That's the guilt, anger, shame that we're passing to the next generation. And we didn't even know what we're doing, but the weight is being felt. And so you have heaviness in your heart. You have that sadness in your heart. And you're probably crying more often at this generation because you're like, oh, these kids that aren't even listening to me. Oh, I've got this burden. Oh, what can I do? I can't turn this way. I can't turn that way. I got to do it. And so it's like the kids are still watching. The kids are still here. But now they're numbing out. Now the cultural violence has these kids down here numbed out with this technology, right? Keeping them occupied. Get them there busy. That's their busyness. And they gave us business. They gave this busyness. And so this tap her, give it to her. So now this generation, look how quickly that cancerous way of that harm that's being done inside you, your soulfulness, your soul wounding is happening. And now for 6 generations, it's 729. Those 3 cells were, and that's why cancer really is rapidly spreading. And so then this generation, I have my coworker is younger than I, and she has a giftedness of writing poetry and poems. So she talks about her experiences about living near Los Alamos National Laboratory. So I'm going to have Jessica read it.
This isn't my poem. This poem was written by Beata Sosi Peña. She's a mother, an activist, and one of my teachers. Growing up, I was disconnected. Some things were not discussed. Among people who valued hard work and employment, one-sided silence through years of schooling, I learned about the nuclear age. From movies and propaganda and Bradbury field trips, the glorified versions of a history that happened in my own backyard, in our state of enchantment, pristine open spaces and a population not respected by a higher nation, still living off the land as the industrial age passed them by, only to get thrust into nuclearization beneath a mission, urgent and thick with intensity, beneath a shroud of secrecy. I was not yet born. The day scientists feared for our sky, thoughts of atmospheric ignition, and that everyone would die. I was not yet born when the Hemes was taken, homesteaders relocated, not of their own volition. Uranium miners on the road to perdition, beloved mountains occupied before I could praise them. Disconnected from ancestral knowledge in 3 generations. Clan animals vanished even as the jobs began to appear. Unprotected, hired hands from the valley, a job was nothing to fear. It was a welcome exchange in hard times. I wasn't yet born. The day silver ash rained down for days, and a plume of poison drifted over state lines. Radioactive fallout on cisterns of drinking water, on crops and livestock, who all miscarried that year. The people were lied to and went on about life as usual while the truth fled with bread over their mouths to keep from breathing the air they knew was foul. And the world was changed forever. A month later, 80,000 people were killed instantly. justified atrocity named enemy, and the book was closed on Trinity, even though it was our own citizens who were bombed. Children born into an experimental population with a cancer rate way higher than the average nation. Entire families still sick and dying, still crying for the elders and the children they lost too soon. I was born into military health care, mixed blood and desert beauty, free from the shame of colonized blame. My grandfather employed by Sandia, my downwinder grandmothers who birthed babies and taught me songs while washing tainted laundry and making pots from local clay. I wonder now, can earth decay? Eating the elk my uncles brought down, breathing fire smoke from trees that drank from discarded waste displaced any place. Today my daughters are born into single-driver car, twice daily parades, dependence on industrial weapon economic charades, the sound of bombs exploding as we pray towards the sun in the mornings. Will my cornmeal prayers protect them as they play in ditches, carrying the water from a source 3 miles away from tritium releases? What did my oldest get exposed to as I breathed in smoke from a tech area burned 3 times over? What kind of poison can penetrate the walls of my womb? What stories were silenced and why and from whom? The truth must be told from the people who lived it, who dwell in this place that houses our spirit. Respectfully, I pray for past, present, and future souls to be at peace someday, for clean air, earth, and water so my children can play, splashing and laughing as we tend to our gardens beneath the loving gaze of our sacred mountains. Free from fear, from invisible poison, free to hear, undisturbed and clear, the birds singing in the morning. As we continue to question and speak our points of view, let us share the stories anew that have never been told, and release the pain not even a century old. No longer shamed by accusations of ignorance, let our diverse voices be our deliverance. No breath here is unimportant. We are free to pray, each in our way, for justice, strong leaders, and supportive institution. A foundation for our expectations as we welcome, in this time of healing, for the good of all generations.
So I recommend you guys, audience there, breathe. Take that breath, release it. We have the healing elements here, and then we also have healers in the audience, but we'll do a blessing. We're near the end, but the bag is full and heavy, and I had to miniaturize our rocks because I had to bring them from New Mexico. I brought my trauma with me. The plane wouldn't take the weight. And the bag is really full. So now it's the 7th generation, so it's the exponential harm from 3 times 3 times 3, 7 times, and now within the lifetime of our visibility, now the weight is 2,187. So this younger generation, the generations that didn't speak about it, that wasn't told, the younger generations have this weight. And when we do this activity with the young kids, that again, the seeds of hope are still coming. But for them, it's like they have to prove that they can take it. Oh, I'm big, I'm strong. No, this isn't heavy. I can carry this load. Like they brag that they can. Oh, it's okay. But if they had to carry this inside of them, but then on the outside is also their own personal traumas, and they're getting angry. And then some of the kids would say, I don't know why I'm so angry. I don't know why I exploded. I don't know why I poked that guy in the back just because he said that to me, and stuff. So what we've added was that if this is the 7th generations, and if you're young now, but you're going to have children, or you're going to have family, are you going to take this bag and start way back here with this load and multiply it, because you're going to be sitting over here. And you're going to pass that on? Or do we help the young ones over there so they know what's in here? And so I just want to have you feel how that trauma grew with the 7th generation, and the weight of not speaking, the guilt, anger, shame, that the culture of violence will not let you open. They'll keep you numbed, drugged, in fear. And the other side of the oppressors group is that, no, that's not happening. That can't be real. No, that's I didn't read about that story. How come it wasn't in the news? How come it wasn't covered? And so how the two have to come to know that in your gut, these seeds of hope need to really be nurtured, mentored, and grown. So as this last group, where do we start to talk about and help traumatized techniques be not used? How can we open that? So open the bag, and this is where you have the regenerative, the healing, the helping. So once the child opens that bag, you'll notice that half of it is gone. They only have to deal with knowing what their traumas are. And this bag we'll just put aside for now. But once you open the bag, then all the things that have happened to you in that wounding that you have, you can even identify them and say, well, this rock is smooth, but I remember that time. It was that guy. Oh man, he was really mean and nasty. And I was wearing my Indian clothes and I was proud and I was walking. He said, it's not Halloween. Why the heck are you wearing those clothes? It was very offensive, and it's like, I don't have the strength to argue with him. I'll just have to go quietly. So once you identify the rocks, we call it emotional vomiting. And it's like, okay, so once you've let it out, you vomit it out. And I personally got my healing here. I had to walk my talk. And so what was happening is that once you vomit it, let it go. Teach the children how to let it go in a healing, helpful way, to release the trauma that was inside of them. Offer it back to Mother Earth. Have it cleansed in water. Have the life giver water cleanse it and take it in its processes. Or bury it in Mother Earth so that it can be ground up back into earth. And so this emotional vomiting, no, but some people are very, have grown into this comfort zone of how to be rough, how to be tough. And so that's where in domestic violence you get well, who's the perpetrator? She did that to him and he did that to her. They're both, so they put them both in jail. But it's like for the violences, it's like you prove your worth by being able to stand up to the violence by doing this thing. You're bumping heads, you're moving. So your energy is consumed by thinking you're strong by being violent and violence back. And so when this emotional vomiting happens and it's out, then the kids are saying, Mom, you should look at your stuff now. Look, they helped me. It was a healing circle. It was really, I feel so good. So Mom gets her bag, opens it, pulls it out. And now there's no guilt, anger, shame in knowing that you were groomed to be this way. You were groomed to have these things, and you don't need to. Let it go. Let it go. And this generation back over here is not going to apologize. They're probably already crossed over because of all the abuse and all the weight and all the pain and all the sorrow. So when you heal yourself here, you're healing your ancestors. And once your ancestors have been acknowledged as great-grandmother, you're not the one that, you did the best you could with what you could do. And I forgive you, and I love you. And when the ancestors on the other side hear that, they come forward to help you. Full force, they come forward, but they're not going to come forward unless you ask. So one of the things that cultural violence really trains you is don't ask. That shows you're dumb, you're stupid, you're ignorant. But it's in the asking when you can ask, and you don't really have to know how to pray. You know, like in AA, they say, fake it till you make it. Okay, Creator, I know you're over there somewhere, but I need your help, and I'm asking. And so whatever form it takes to get this, open the bags. And then I think one of the mistakes that healing professions do is that, well, let's have a talking circle right away. You know, it's like we've been groomed to not speak. We can't even look at people in the eye sometimes because we don't know whether others have been healed as well. And so we're sitting in this linear path and quiet. So when the healing starts, then it's circle time. But you have to acknowledge and you have to have the healing process happen. And it happens in many different ways and forms. And again, our children have to be taught that just going to the river, having the water spirits wash their feet, or that they splash their face, or that they drink water, those things of nature, nature's law, natural laws are there. Put your back against a tree and let that tree take your pain back down into Mother Earth, and you'll have that release. So there's many different ways that we need to go back to nature in helping us, to help us with our physicalness, our spiritualness. So because we live near Los Alamos National Laboratory, it's a Department of Energy, Department of Defense. So we have our own energy. We have Department of Energy in us. Let's reclaim our power with love. Let's get it back into that loving nature and say, no, you're not going to have my energy. You're not going to numb me and drug me so that you can zap my energy and I'm not doing anything, you know. So you have to claim back who you are. And the question is not, what should I be doing? What am I going to do? What am I going to become? It's, who is my purpose in life? And who was answered when we say we're talking about children. We're talking about the most vulnerable. We're talking about how do we come forward now in that good relations way, in that, what does Einstein say, relativity, but I say relationaltivity. See, I'm creating English. And so the circle then we would move our chairs into a circle. And that's what we're going to do this afternoon. You're going to go into your circles. You're going to have these discussions. You're going to be respecting each other with all the wisdom, the knowledge, and the pain you're carrying, and being able to put that into motion for action to address and to end the culture of violence. You're going to be addressing those within the mindset of a culture of peace. And how do you get your culture of peace, your beloved communities back? And how not to be working with the tools of the oppressor. How do you dismantle the tools of the oppressor in order to claim back your rightful place and protect Mother Earth and those most vulnerable? So I'd like to give those people that are sitting up here an opportunity of an insight or wisdom or what you might want to share, and then we'll do a blessing for them, and then for the whole group, and then I think I'm hot up here. Do you want to say anything? Or
No.
Our experience, or?
No, I don't.
Okay.
This is really good, though.
There was a lot to think about, and I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate your approach to helping us learn.
This seat is very fitting to me. I'm a recovering addict alcoholic. I share my story because I had to overcome that to where I am today. And I tell my boys that I mastered guilt, shame, and worry, you know, that I invented them because that was my life. But now I know that with the healing that I've done, and this job has helped me a lot, that now I know how to help my children and grandchildren. Thank you.
I would just like to say thanks for the opportunity of being here.
This seat is very fitting for me because I have opened my bag and I've done spiritual vomiting. I've been cleaned and I've broken the lies of the oppressor. And thank you very much.
I'm a mama of an 8-year-old boy, and I have a history of deep trauma behind me, and it just touches me to be here and to talk to you all and hear your stories. And I think understanding the historical trauma has really fueled my work and my desire to work for the mamas and the babies in our communities and to make sure that they're healthy and safe. So.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I sort of feel it's fitting that I'm in the 7th generation and that I have 7 generations of Presbyterian ministers in my family, long, Calvinist, guilt-ridden, oppressive ministers in my family. And I'm the only one in the whole clan who was never baptized. And I learned, after feeling ashamed that I was going to go to hell and no one else was, that in fact, it felt like an opportunity to do that healing, and that I was the one who was not immediately put in those chains, and that in fact, maybe I could turn the tide on that legacy. So thank you very much.
Woo. So I don't know, I didn't see the sign because I can't see the light up there. They didn't go like this. That's enough, you're way over time. But I thank you, and if there's any comments or any thoughts, I know it probably takes a while for it to sink in, or to even, if you want that assistance or help with what it brought up for you, the healers are here in the audience and they're back in the room. But also up here, what our Circle of Grandmothers have brought were lavender, our first aid kit. It has lavender, sage, and osha root in here, and it has a little seashell. So if ever you want to open up your kit or have it in your bedroom or in your car just for calming, reassurance, it's here. So all of you are welcome to take one. Take it on to the ones that are going to pass on it. And then also up here, I've been gifted and honored by the healers to have the roots that are from here that grounded us, and the spirits of the ancestors from this area were here listening, and we're also being blessed by their supportive presence of healing. And again, with all the elements that are here, water was here listening. Water is life, and water is spirit, and we are vessels that carry the water in us. So we are water people, and our bodies have Mother Earth, so we have that relational tie. And my family, did you all get the lamb? My family in this generations are known for making pottery, so I have, my sons are the potters, so I have some giftings for the Native people and the elders in the community for allowing us to be in. So Vi, if you can identify the ones that would be gifted, I would like to honor them. And then for the ones that were participating here, I have brought little baskets so you can take some seeds of hope with you. So you want to help me give it? Yeah, then you can give them a basket and the seeds. And the only thing I don't know how to do in all these many talents, I don't sing. So if anybody is here in the audience that would like to move that vibrational energy, I ask you if there's anybody that would like to sing from the heart, a song, whatever. Anybody? I can sing. Okay. Okay, we're going to do a vibrational song that I learned in kindergarten. Okay, everybody, we're going to say our vows. So everybody, I, E, I, O, U. Ooh, see, you're all musicians. Thank you. You move that energy. So I am done. Thank you.